slash My Heart, Your Hands presentation. And really, the goal of this meeting is to help you discover Arbonne, to show you the potential with this company and the possibilities, to educate you on the industry and the products and the income opportunities, and also to meet some of the other women and men that are in the room and that have been involved with Arbonne. There's a lot of different people in this room that have been involved for a different number of months, years. I've been in Arbonne for 6.5 years and have loved every minute of it. We have a lot of people in here that have amazing testimonies from the product, and maybe at the end we can share some of those, but just to highlight a couple of those before we get started so you can get excited about what we're going to present. Darlene, where's Darlene? I told you I was going to put you on the spot. As a lot of you know, our healthy living products are amazing, and we have a 30-day detox program, 30 days to fit, we call it, that a lot of people in this room have done. Raise your hand if you've done that program. Wow. We're doing it.
My husband's doing it.
Yeah. Very good. Darlene went from a size 14 to a size 2 in 2011, starting in January.
And got rid of high blood pressure and a fatty liver.
And now we're at risk for diabetes.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Very, very exciting. And then we also have some people, or a lot of people in the room that have been very successful. If you notice any of the white Mercedes out front, just to dangle that carrot in front of you, if that motivates you to get a good car with your business, that's out there. But we also have someone in the room, I believe, who is in qualifications for regional vice president, which is the level where you earn the car. So who is that?
Miss Stacy.
Oh my God! Okay, so anyways, we could go on and on. I could talk on and on about the products and just the amazing journey that I've had with Arbonne. I had to look at my notes because now I'm looking, getting a little nervous here, but what I was going to talk about, the other purpose of this meeting is just to, when people start out in this business, it's great for them to be able to come and connect with other Arbonne consultants and guests. It's a great opportunity, like I said, for the guests to come and see what Arbonne's all about. But just know, if you're sitting in the room, that all of us here have fears, we have intimidations, we have lack of confidence that are hurdles to us, just like with anything in life. So you're not alone there. But I think what you'll see and what most people have when they start this business is a ton of excitement, a ton of passion, and that's what carries them through. So tonight we're going to hear from Luann Russians, who is a regional vice president. Where is it?
I'm here.
She's going to do the opportunity presentation. And Stephanie Zimmerman, I'm going to introduce you to her. She's our guest speaker. I'm just thrilled to have her here. This is really a dream come true many years ago, and it's kind of altered a little bit, but Stephanie's going to share her story with you, so I don't want to give it all away, but when I joined Arbonne, she was my area manager, and as she'll share tonight, things happened in her life that had to change that, and she had to give up her business. But that's the other amazing thing about this business, and if you want to have your own business, is the people that you meet along the way and the friends that you make. Even if you don't continue in the business, you still have made some amazing friendships, and that's I never would have met Stephanie. Probably would have. Her cousin Christy was my college housemate, and that's how I got connected to Arbonne. Like I said, 6.5 years ago. And just to give you a short why, for me, I had my first baby, Cameron. The girl is now selling Girl Scout cookies. That's a little plug if anyone wants to be on I never dreamed of being a stay-at-home mom. Never really dreamed of being a mom, to be honest, or married. But anyways, here I am with two kids. And I was a career woman, very driven. I have an accounting undergrad degree, a master's in occupational occupational therapy, and just always wanted to be successful with a career. Always wanted to help people. I've been decluttering some things and going back, and I've looked at applications for college and graduate school, and everything in there writes about how much I love working with people and helping people. And accounting did not give me that by any means, which is why I went back to school to become an occupational therapist, and that gave it to me, but I was still wanting something more. So every job that I had, I still wanted something more, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And so when I had my first child, I was at home planning to go back to work. I did go back to work for about 3 months and hated every second of it. Sit at my desk and cry and thought, there's got to be something else out there, something I can do from home. There's got to be a way I can make money. And that's where Arbonne was introduced to me. Actually, I sought it out and emailed her cousin, Christy, and asked her what she did. I respected her highly and trusted her, and she just started with Arbonne. So I am so thankful that Stephanie said yes to Arbonne, that Christy said yes, and Allison Hinson in the back is my national vice president. And I'm so thankful that you said yes, because here we are, and I don't have any doubts about starting my business. So I jumped right in and promoted to district manager very quickly, within 2 months, and then kind of started to hit the obstacles and the roadblocks, the fears, the intimidations, the lack of confidence, and just continued to struggle with that, like a lot of you in the room. So I tell you that just to be honest and let you know, if you do, as a guest, decide you want to start a business, or if you've been in the business and you're struggling, that's all normal and part of life, and just keep your vision big and dream big. Before we finished this basement, I'd already had my Arbonne business, but my dream was this, to have all these people here, and I wanted to have all the products on the shelves. We haven't done that yet. Kind of on the end table. But it's just, anyway, it's just very exciting. So that's a little bit about my story. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Stephanie. And I have a gift for you that I'll give you at the end. Okay. All right. So Stephanie, you want me to tell more about you, or you want to? She's a woman of many words. But she is I'll give you the full story. But she is an oncology nurse practitioner, pediatric. She had cancer when she was 8 years old, childhood cancer, and I wrote her story in the email I sent out. But the therapies that she had, to save her life from cancer, ended up almost taking her life from a heart transplant. From heart failure, almost 4 years ago. April will be 4 years. And so she sustained a heart transplant, and is now started a foundation where her mission is to help educate others on the late effects of cancer therapy. She's going to tell you a little bit about that foundation, but we're linking arms and helping each other. I'm helping her to get that exposure and share her story, because it's amazing. I have to bring tissues down here, and we have to go and get some tissues. And then she's helping me, like I said, she was, basically my sponsor when I started my business, and she'll tell you a little bit about that. So welcome, Stephanie. Thank you. On Good Morning America, you're going to have a wider audience.
Wow. First off, very good to see you, Alan. Allison Henson is actually the person that I remember talking to at 2:30 in the morning back in 2005, and talking about Arbonne, and her saying, "Why would you do this?" And she said, "You have to refine your why, because that's what's going to compel you forward." So, wow, you guys, everything in my body is just the adrenaline. But I have to tell you, when you carry the heart of another person, your heart rate does not go up. My heart rate is my donor's heart rate, and forever will be. So when I get an adrenaline surge, my heart rate is just boom. So, forgive me, I'm shaking, but my heart is like rocking. Anyway, why? Like Kara said, I was diagnosed with cancer at 8 years of age. I had a solid tumor in my left chest wall. It started in my second left rib and kind of worked its way outward. Invaded my chest wall. This is 1978. You guys, I can't project my voice, so I'm so sorry. But the goal of the surgery in 1978 was to go in, take the malignancy out, and then treat me with chemotherapy and radiation if necessary. At that time, very few children were surviving. The surgeon came out of the OR and told my parents he couldn't take the tumor out. It was too delicately placed. It was too attached. It had too much of a blood supply. And had he taken it out, I would have bled to death. In fact, he closed my chest with packing. He couldn't compress my chest hard enough to stop the bleeding. Packed me, closed me, and went to talk to my parents and said, we'll try to go back in later. We got a piece of tissue, we can diagnose it, and we can take it from there. Long story short, the pediatric oncology team at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh sat with my parents and said, there's really very little hope that your daughter will live. However, there's a clinical trial open, and if you choose to, it might offer you more time with your daughter. So, my parents, being the people that they are, really said, you know what, if we can have more time and benefit others, then we'd like to move forward. So they registered me on the clinical trial. I was actually on the failing arm of the study. Clinical trials, you get randomized. So you get treatment A or treatment B. At that time, neither treatment was known to be effective. So let's say I got B. That was the arm that failed. It wasn't the one that moved forward. And but I'm the sole survivor of both arms of that study. So as you grow up, you process things according to your abilities. Obviously, in my teenage years, it really was quite sobering to recognize that, first of all, I had had cancer already. And Okay. So, very sobering, and I didn't even realize I had had cancer. It was actually my cousin Christy who broke that news to me 3 years after the fact, because her parents had told her that I had cancer. My parents, on the other hand, had told me that I had Ewing sarcoma. We were the proper noun family. Proper names across the board. Even if they had told me I had had cancer, at that point in my life, it meant nothing to me. No one in my family had had cancer. The media was not constantly talking about cancer, so it would have meant nothing. But when I was 11 and my cousin and I are on the beach at Hilton Head, and she goes, Steph, I'm so sorry that you've already had cancer. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, I have never had cancer. I had Ewing sarcoma, not cancer. And she goes, oh no, Steph, it was cancer. I'm like, okay, we've got to settle this. So we march ourselves up. And I'm like, Mom, Dad, Christy says I've had cancer. Tell her the truth. And they were like, So we sat down. I recognized what I had had. And at that point, my parents began to pass the baton to me. They began, you know, I knew every single drug that I had had. I could name my chemotherapy drugs. I could name my diagnosis. I knew everything because that's the way it had been presented. But what I didn't know was that I was going to have to take responsibility for my own health care for my adult years. And the further out you get from cancer, the safer you feel from a cancer standpoint. But the more at risk you are for the side effects that are late in kind of getting your digs in, so to speak. So, went to college, studied psychology, had my bachelor's in psychology, went on to nursing school at Hopkins, got my bachelor's in nursing, was a bedside nurse for many years, firmly believed that the call on my life was to take care of children with cancer and to serve their families and to serve them well. Had bone marrow transplant experience and decided that I needed something more. I needed to have the credibility within the eyes of the parents, within the eyes of the children, and within the eyes of my peers. Not just my nursing colleagues, but also the physicians, that they could recognize that that I could bring my clinical expertise up to where my lived experience had been, and to make those match and to move forward. So I went back to graduate school at the University of Florida, finished up my master's degree, and went on to serve as the pediatric oncology nurse practitioner at Dartmouth in Hanover, New Hampshire. And best job of my life, second to being a wife and mom. But very, very rewarding. My husband and I got married while I was in nursing school. We've been married, it'll be 18 years in August. We have an 8-year-old little boy who is just a joy and remains a joy despite everything that he has walked through his entire life. He actually has only known me as a well person since the transplant, because my heart has been compromised across my lifetime. But my parents passed the baton, and they said, your heart's at risk, and so be careful, take care of your heart. And certainly I was told that having children was not a good idea. It was a very strong desire of mine. And so my husband and I went through consult after consult after consult to get permission to attempt to become pregnant, and really had no doubt that from a fertility standpoint, everything was fine. The radiation was to my chest, the chemotherapy, I was prepubescent, so my ovaries and everything had been spared from the chemotherapy. And we finally got permission. We got pregnant within a year, moved back south, had our son Abel, and within 6 weeks, actually within 11 days of his delivery, which they had prepared us for, my heart stuttered, because you have such rapid volume shifts, just getting rid of all the excess fluid. My heart, quite miraculously, behaved just like any one of you who has had a child. My heart was normal during my pregnancy, and I have no explanation for that. The 9 months that I was pregnant were, in my husband's words, the healthiest he has ever seen me. But my heart started to stutter, and very quickly rebounded, but nonetheless had stuttered. And the doctors had prepared us that would happen. They had told me very, very specifically, about 12 days after your delivery, you're not going to feel right. Okay. So very clearly I was not feeling right. And I was like, what's going on? And no lie, it was day 11, which was April 22nd of 2003. And my heart did exactly as they said it would. Rebounded and was fine. There was absolutely no indication that my heart was ever going to progressively decline. However, probably 2007, I started to struggle with increasing fatigue. And the risk was the radiation to my chest had compromised my valves, so I had leaky valves. And then the adriamycin, which is a very common drug, it's the backbone of cures for breast cancer, for solid tumors in kids, for Hodgkin's disease, for high-risk ALL, pretty much every malignancy that there's been major progress made in terms of cure, that drug has a part of it. And it is known it can happen months after, it can happen years after, it can happen 3 decades after, which in my case it did. My heart just gradually started to decline. The recommendation was that we do valve repair surgery in the hopes that my muscle would rebound. And what happened was great. They were functioning properly. But on December 27th, my son looked down at my ankle. I had just taken off a pair of socks, and he, at 4 years of age, said, "Mom, what's wrong with your ankles?" And I looked down at them, and they were swollen a little bit, and they had imprints. And I said, "Oh, it's just like when you wake up in the morning, and you've got the crease from your pillowcase. It'll be gone in 5 minutes, no big deal. Just had surgery, just getting better." Well, I looked at my watch, watched my ankles, and 30 minutes later, the imprints were still there. So, in my mind, I make a note of that. Proceed to walk through the month of January, and Kara certainly can testify to the fact that for a while, we all convinced ourselves that I was getting better, that this was a normal postoperative recovery, but there came a point on February 3rd when an echo showed that my heart function was 5%, normal being 60%, where we could no longer convince ourselves that I was getting better. At that point in time, they referred us to Emory for evaluation for transplant. I was in and out of the hospital down at Emory, and mid-February was declined. My case was declined here locally, and yet we knew that the only option, the only hope of continued life was heart transplant, but we also knew that it wasn't going to take place here. So our wheels got in motion, and we arranged for evaluation at the Cleveland Clinic, who had done my valve surgery and had experience working with doing 2 open heart procedures in a 4-month period of time. They had experience with irradiated tissue, which is hard to heal. It's very friable. Just, so many complications. At this point,